Hello and welcome back to Tea Time at the Ritz with Tricia. It's 4 o'clock. I hope you've got your cup of tea beside you or a cup of coffee and you're ready for another of our Tea Time chats. Thank you so much for the feedback that you're giving me. It's motivating me a lot to carry on doing these videos and coming up with some ideas that I think might interest you. And the other day I came up with 30 quite quickly, and you're going to keep giving them to me, I'm sure, via the Tricia Super Troopers page, which I'm also loving, just as I love all the comments that you leave for me on the blog. I hope you had a lovely weekend. I did actually have a very nice weekend, not least because the sun was shining, it was quite warm, and the downside of that was that my windows are absolutely filthy, which I hadn't realised before the sun started to shine on them. So where are we now? We're kind of in a funny place, I think. We've gone from everything being a bit of a novelty, the whole idea of staying at home, social distancing, all of that was, for a while, it felt a bit like a game that we were playing, this could be really good fun. We could do this, we could do, I'm going to get all my cupboards sorted and all that kind of thing. And now the grim reality is starting to set in, and I think that grim reality is going to become more pervasive, unfortunately. I was listening yesterday to an interview with somebody who's in charge of a large hospital in Essex, and she said that last week they had 4 wards filled with people with COVID-19. Now they have 18 wards filled. That's quite alarming, isn't it? Within, within a week. Actually, I just coughed there. Yesterday, I had a terrible coughing session, and I was thinking, I took my temperature, in fact, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, no, don't tell me. And then I realised I'd been out in the garden quite a lot, and I think there's something out in that garden that that makes my breathing a bit asthmatic. I've noticed it before, and I'm fine today. Fingers firmly crossed. So we're in much more serious times. We're having to dig a bit deeper, I think. We're having to really come to terms with what it means to self-isolate. And that means that we're going to have to appraise things in new and different ways. So it's also, for me, it's throwing up contrasts, quite stark contrasts really, between really good on the one hand, and that there is unquestionably, in my mind anyways, some amazingly good things that are coming out of this, all sorts of things that are going to be better as a result. But I am a natural optimist, but even so, I really do feel that there are some good things. And on the other side, there are definitely some bad things that are coming out of this. I'm just going to have a quick drink of water, excuse me. So, it's in the light of the sort of contrast, good, bad, and that I really want to talk to you about today. And one of those contrasts is what I call heroes and villains. When this started, it occurred to me that over the coming weeks, certain people will emerge as absolute heroes and others will emerge as absolute zeros. And it is quite interesting to see some of those that have floated into the national consciousness as either heroes or zeros. So my heroes, I'm going to name, of course, taken for granted, every single person that's fighting this disease in any way, shape or form, total heroes, and keeping the country going. But one of the groups that rarely gets mentioned are the bin men, the refuse collectors. Think about going outside your front door and the whole street is piled with rubbish that's rotting in the sunshine and attracting vermin. How awful and apocalyptic that would be. Truly like the end of days. That's not happening, and it's not happening because those amazing men come at about 4 o'clock in the morning. They'll be there tomorrow collecting my rubbish and everybody else's, and I want to just salute them. Heroes to me. A couple of named heroes. Joe Wicks. Good on you, Joe. Get the nation moving. And Neil Ferguson, do you know who I mean by that? He's the scientist that I love. He's the epidemiologist at Imperial College, who is very keen that we don't go for herd immunity, but we actually do the suppression of the virus rather than letting it rip through the community. And in so doing, possibly take up to 250,000 people with it. I think he was quite instrumental via his scientific facts at making sure that the policy of herd immunity only saw the light of day very briefly, and fortunately for all of us oldies, was actually knocked on the head. Thanks to Neil Ferguson. Zeros, villains. I think there are quite a few multi-millionaire businessmen that don't come out of this particularly well at the moment. I'm talking about Mike Ashley of Sports Direct. I'm sure you've read about him and what he had to say. Tim Martin of Wetherspoons, who said there was absolutely no virus in his pubs and they could stay open because there was no virus in his pubs. I don't know how he knew that. And I think it's true. If it's not true, I will apologise to him personally. Philip Green, I think he sacked all of his employees about half an hour after he closed all the stores so that he didn't have to pay them anything. That could be wrong. It was reversed. It's interesting what the first thought was. And dear Jacob Rees-Mogg, who seems to have disappeared from the national consciousness, but yesterday he was reported as he's got a big investment company, that's why he's so rich, and apparently he sent out an email saying this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make big returns. Wow, fantastic. So, how about your own health right now? I know we've talked about this a bit before, but I wanted to do the balance thing, the good, the not so good, the definitely do this, maybe think about this as a contrast. And I want to take as my starting point for this the WHO, who in 1948 had this to say: health is a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being. It's not just the absence of disease or infirmity. Now, I think that's really, really important. So I want you on a daily basis to be thinking and planning how to support your health from a physical, mental and social point of view. And I've got some ideas to share with you, obviously. So let's start with the physical. So what's the good stuff of the physical? I mentioned this in the Get Moving video that I did, I think the week before last. Obviously, exercise. Anything and everything that you can do to get your body moving and to reduce the amount of time that you're sitting. And this is almost note to self. Tricia, are you listening? I am terrible because I spend a lot of time at my laptop writing and doing various other things that I have to do, and obviously making these videos, and it's not good for me. And I must start, and I promise myself I will from today, start setting a timer so that I move very, very regularly. So not sitting too long, and also making sure that, you know, the food that you eat to nourish your body, the good food, the not too much food, the good drink. You know, I just had a sip of water. Drinking water throughout the day, hydrating yourself. Obviously the downside, the physical bad stuff, is overdoing the exercise. I wonder with some of you whether you are leaping about doing Joe Wicks and doing, you know, walk 100 miles with Jane Fonda or whatever, that you are actually, you're going at it like a bull at a gate. You're actually overdoing it. So you shouldn't feel stiff and hurt. That's not, you know, feel the burn and it must be doing good. That's not true. You really shouldn't have too much of a negative reaction to exercise. If you are, you're either doing it wrong or you're doing too much of it. Overeating, really treating yourself. This is just a little bit of a reality check, I think. Are you actually slowly creeping the weight on because you are indulging in all those things that you love when you want to cheer yourself up? I blame our mothers, you know, I think after the war, when sugar came off rationing, my mum anyway, she was a brilliant baker, you know, baking cake. She could have been on Great British Bake Off, no trouble at all. And she would have, you know, really done well on that. She was the most amazing cook at those sweet indulgent treats. That's what I associate with love. You know, sticky toffee pudding. But if you are eating a lot of that kind of thing, then it's not going to do you much good, nor is over drinking. I'm not going to go on about alcohol. You know as well as I do. But if I did read a comment about this. If you do find that you're reaching for the bottle more evenings than not, then you might want to work that out into some kind of a structure or a pattern. I'm not going to say any more about that. So mental stuff, good stuff, mental stimulation. I find my mind's very hungry at the moment. I really want to listen to good stuff that really stimulates my mind. I'm very keen on meditation, and I think it's linked to sleeping well. I want to do a video about that. I think it's really, really helpful to have resources, is what I see it. Resources to help your mind to still and calm itself, and to think better thoughts. And also allowing emotions as appropriate. I think that's good for your mind. And the other thing that's really good for your mind is surrender. I wrote about this in a blog, which I called Staying Safe, Staying Sane, a couple of weeks ago. And I think that part of staying safe and sane in this situation is surrendering to it. It's not trying to control it or manage it too much. If you surrender to it, you just quietly accept it is as it is. And you also accept your powerlessness, which is really hard to do. But part of that mental process of surrender is enormously valuable. And also become your own best friend. I'm very keen on that. Becoming your own best friend. I heard Benjamin Zephaniah on Desert Island Discs a while ago, and he was talking about how important it was if you're, to be, in fact, your own best friend. And he said he wouldn't mind being on a desert island at all because he liked his own company. And I think that's really important, because if you do like your own company and you are your own best friend and you treat yourself as your own best friend, then you're going to be fine. The negative side of the mental stuff, I've got a piece of writing here. It's lovely. It's from Marian Keyes. Do you know who I mean? She's an Irish writer, and she's got that lovely, breathy sort of Irish accent like that. That's how she talks. I'm not going to do any more of that. You'll be pleased to hear. But she's had her own issues in the past. She's had her own demons to overcome. And this is what she's written, and I think it's rather lovely. So this is the downside of the mental agitation that we might all be feeling. So she says, we don't have to use this strange hiccup in time to become fluid in conversational Mandarin or learn to play the clarinet or achieve anything at all. We need to remember how scared we are. Some of us are worse than others. Some of us are just better at denial. And the thing about fear is that it's exhausting. If we're getting through the day without running, screaming through the streets, we're already at saturation. Where is it written that we need to be perpetually productive? There's something really wrong with our collective value system when we feel guilty that we're not writing a play or a symphony in the midst of a pandemic. What's wrong with doing nothing? What's wrong with having a rest? What's wrong with admitting that this is beyond us? Nothing. That's what. Feed yourself. Wash yourself. Do the small necessary stuff. That's all you need to do. So I am absolutely 100% with Marian there. And I think we need to pay attention to what she's saying, and that's how we keep ourselves mentally well. And finally, the whole social side of it. Now, obviously, the positives is everything that you're doing to connect with other people. I bet there are a whole load of older people out there who are suddenly, technically, much more savvy than they've ever been in their life. They're Zooming here, there and everywhere. They are comfortably using all sorts of WhatsApps and goodness knows what that they didn't think they were able to do. Now, all of that is positive. Staying connected to the people that you love, staying in touch. My daughter Anna, her street, which was full of people she didn't know, have a quiz every Saturday night. They all go out on their doorsteps and they shout the answers to each other. And Anna says it's brilliant. Suddenly they feel like a community. How good is that? I absolutely love that idea. So all that, those ways that you can socially connect in good and positive ways. The downside is that you're becoming a bit needy, a bit demanding, expecting other people to always be there for you, requiring that they respond immediately to your requests, and so on and so forth. Be very wary about being needy around your grandchildren. I know that some of you who have grandchildren are missing them like crazy, but your grandchildren don't need the responsibility of your despair, of your grieving for not having them around. And the best way with your grandchildren to socially connect is, I am finding, is by giving them things to do. They are loving it. You know, my older grandchildren, the ones that are 11, 10 and 9, are loving doing things that I'm suggesting, so finding out things and coming back to me. So find positive ways to connect with people rather than becoming, as I said, a bit overbearing and demanding and difficult. I'm sure none of you would be like that, but if you do, then just check yourself. So there you go, complete physical, mental and social health. And then we come out of this extremely well. Now, I've got something exciting to tell you. We're launching today a competition, and it's to design. There's 2 competitions. One is to send us a photograph in which you are wearing a hat that you have designed as an Easter bonnet. Okay, now I've got a couple of hats here. So there's this one, which is my summer hat. And there's this one, which is also a summer hat. So it's extremely glamorous. I could definitely go to the Ritz in this. And I am going to choose one of these hats and I'm going to decorate it. And I'm going to see if I can make it look like an Easter bonnet. So one competition we're running with you, take a hat or make a hat and design it somehow. Just decorate it. So we're going to give a prize to the hat that we think, I've asked a milliner friend to judge this competition. So she actually makes hats for a living. So she's going to judge the competition. So make us a hat that you could wear as an Easter bonnet. Now that's one competition. The prize for that is a complete set of all our skincare. It's worth over £160. It will come in a lovely bag and you get the day cream, the night cream, the serum, the cleanser and the eye makeup remover. So it's a lovely prize, and the same prize will be awarded to a photograph of you wearing a stunning hat, maybe at Ascot or a wedding, something where you've got a hat where we're all going to look at it and go, wow, what an amazing hat. So again, my milliner friend is going to judge the competition, and it's the same prize. There'll be some runner-up prizes as well. We'll have 2 runner-up prizes in each category, and you'll each get a signed copy of my book as your prize. So that's a little bit of fun. We'll be sending an email out about that to remind you and to tell you how to enter the competition. Basically, we just want a photograph. So you can post that photograph on the Super Troopers page. In fact, I want you to be posting them on the Super Troopers page because I think it'd be good fun to join in with that. But we will also tell you, if you're not on the Super Troopers Facebook page, how to get your pictures to us. And so that will come out to you in an email. And I might mention that as well. I will mention it in the days this week. The closing date for the competition is the Tuesday after Easter Monday. So a week tomorrow. Okay, and then we will announce the winner the following weekend, and we will put the photographs of the 2 winners, the I've made this Easter bonnet myself winner and the don't I look amazing in this hat winner, on the blog the following week. Okay, I will also mention it on here. So I hope you enjoyed that. I shall look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and thank you very much again for joining me and for listening. Bye-bye.